Welcome back again. I'm going to treat a sensitive topic today. This topic is dedicated to students who are in Key Stage 4. Key Stage 4 are students in high school. High school, I mean from year 9 to 11 or from SS1 to 3. This is a topic in biology. We're going to look at the endocrine system. This topic is dedicated to students who want to sit for these exams, IGCSE, GCSE, WAEC, and even those who will write JAMB next year. Alright, so for those of us who are writing IGCSE for students in the UK, whether your exam board is AQA or your exam board is Edexcel, whether you're doing foundation or higher tier, listen, this is for you. There are so many questions that this session will answer at the end of the day. So if you stay with me till the end, you'll be a lot wiser. All right, so we're going to look at the endocrine system. The first thing we're going to do is understand what the word endocrine system means. From our basic knowledge of biology, we know that a system or the organ system is a collection of organs, and that organs are formed when tissues collect, and that tissues are formed when similar cells gather to perform a specific function. Alright, so the endocrine system is a system that is composed of glands. The word is glands. These glands secrete chemicals called hormones, and these hormones go directly into the bloodstream. So endocrine system is a system that is composed of glands. These glands are known as the endocrine glands. These endocrine glands secrete a chemical, they secrete chemicals called hormones, and these hormones go directly into the bloodstream. Now, we have identified what the endocrine system is, and we know that the major product of the endocrine system is the hormone. The next question we're going to look at is, what is a hormone, or what are hormones? We hear the word hormones. We use the word hormones in our everyday use of English. But what is a hormone biologically? Biologically, a hormone is a chemical substance. And this chemical substance is secreted by the endocrine gland. Of course, we're coming from glands and endocrine system. So this chemical substance we call hormones are secreted by the endocrine glands directly into the bloodstream. Now, when they enter the bloodstream, they are transported by the blood to target organs. It is when they get to the target organs that they can what? Produce an effect. A hormone, or this endocrine system, functions as a coordination, just like your nervous system. But in the case of nervous system, the coordinations are quick, but endocrine system's coordination are quite slow but longer lasting. All right, so my focus is to expose us to the endocrine glands, because these endocrine glands secrete or produce hormones. In the human body, in the body of a Homo sapien, there are 6 major endocrine glands, and we're going to expose you to these 6 major endocrine glands. We're going to look at the first endocrine gland here, the pituitary gland. I have students who call this pituitary. It's really funny. All right, so this is the pituitary gland. We'll talk about the pituitary gland. We'll talk about the thyroid gland. We'll talk about the adrenal gland. We'll talk about the pancreas, the ovary, and the testes. So give me another 6 minutes and we'll be done. Give me another 6 minutes and we'll be done with this. All right, I'll start with the pituitary gland. Remember, the pituitary gland is an endocrine gland. It is part of the endocrine system. This gland we call the pituitary gland. Please notice the spelling. This gland is known as the master gland. It is located in the brain. That's where this gland is. What does this pituitary gland do? It secretes hormones, of course, because it's an endocrine gland. But the hormones secreted by this gland will be characterized into 2, or be grouped into 2. The first set of hormones secreted by this gland are the hormones that will just go directly into the bloodstream go to target organs and produce an effect. Two examples of hormones produced by these glands that does that. We have the ADH, the anti-diuretic hormone. Please take note, this is the anti-diuretic hormone ADH secreted by the pituitary gland. We also have the growth hormones secreted by the pituitary gland. So this kind of hormones secreted by the pituitary gland will just go directly into the bloodstream, get to the target organs and produce an effect. What is the function or the role of ADH, anti-diuretic hormone? These hormones control the volume of urine that the kidneys produce. Take note of the meaning of ADH and where it is produced. The target organ is the kidney. What does it do? It controls or coordinates the volume of urine that is produced by the kidney. Don't forget that the kidney is an excretory organ. Urine is excreted by your kidney, not your bladder. So the kidneys excrete urine and urine is stored in the bladder. Just take note of it. For those of us who will be writing JAMB, these are multiple questions. You can just get marks here and there just by paying attention to this. Alright, so having said that, then the growth hormones, of course, they go to those organs and tissues, muscles that enables us to grow. But apart from this ADH and growth hormones that the pituitary gland secretes that goes directly into the organs, into the target organs to produce an effect, we have another group of hormones that the pituitary gland produces too. But these ones do not go directly to organs to produce an effect. They get to other endocrine glands to stimulate these other endocrine glands to release their own hormones to exert an effect. Little wonder we call this pituitary gland the master gland, because it produces its own hormones that goes directly into target organs and also produces hormones that controls the activities of other endocrine glands. That is why we call it the master gland. So we have already answered the question why the pituitary gland is the master gland, because it controls and coordinates other endocrine glands by releasing hormones that triggers other endocrine glands to produce their hormones. All right, so I'm going to look at two of these hormones secreted by this master gland that triggers other endocrine glands to work. The first hormone here is the FSH. The FSH is called the follicle stimulating hormone. This hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, is secreted by the pituitary gland. This follicle stimulating hormone goes to the ovary. The ovary is also another endocrine gland, and it is unique to ladies, or stands for follicle stimulating hormones. This hormone is secreted by the pituitary gland. Once it's secreted, it goes to the endocrine gland called the ovary. This ovary is actually found in females. All right, it stimulates the ovaries to produce a hormone that we call estrogen. What does estrogen do? Estrogen is responsible for the female secondary sexual characteristics. Estrogen is produced by the ovaries. What stimulates the ovaries to produce estrogen is the follicle stimulating hormone, and the follicle stimulating hormone is produced by the pituitary gland. All right, I said estrogen is responsible or controls the female secondary sexual characteristics. It also controls the menstrual cycle for ladies. All right, then we also have the TSH. The TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone. T for thyroid, S for stimulating, H for hormones. Please take note of this spelling for those of us who will be writing these exams that will require to do some essay writing, WAEC, GCSE, IGCSE. Biologists who will examine your script, they are spelling conscious, very spelling conscious. So we need to take note of the spelling of these words. All right, so thyroid stimulating hormone is produced by the pituitary gland. It is sent to the endocrine gland called the thyroid. When it gets to the thyroid, it stimulates the thyroid to produce a hormone called thyroxine. What does thyroxine do? Thyroxine is that hormone that regulates or controls our body's metabolism. All right, for those of us in key stage 4, I want to believe that we understand the concept of metabolism, but that does not mean that for the purpose of key stage 3 and key stage 2 students, a video will not be done. I'll be doing a video to explain what metabolism is, including anabolism and catabolism for key stage 2 and key stage 3 students. So key stage 4 students, be on the lookout in case you can't remember what metabolism is. All right, so that's for thyroxine. Why am I talking about the thyroid and the ovaries? It's because of the follicle stimulating hormone and the thyroid stimulating hormone. These two hormones are produced by the pituitary gland, and these hormones go to other endocrine glands to stimulate these endocrine glands to make their hormones. All right, we've talked about the thyroid. Of course, it's an endocrine gland and it produces thyroxine. We've also talked about the ovary. It's an endocrine gland. It produces estrogen. Now let's also talk about the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland is an endocrine gland that produces the hormone we call adrenaline. Adrenaline is also known as the fight or the flight hormone. This hormone prepares your body for stress. Very important. Then we have the pancreas. The pancreas is another endocrine gland. There are two hormones secreted or released by the pancreatic alpha and beta cells. We have insulin and glucagon. Insulin and glucagon are the two hormones produced by this endocrine gland, and they help to regulate or control the body's blood glucose or blood sugar. Then the testis is an endocrine gland too. This endocrine gland we call the testis produces the hormone called testosterone, and testosterone is responsible for the male secondary sexual characteristics. That thick voice, beard, broad shoulders that guys develop much later during puberty is as a result of testosterone. So it is very important that when we hear the term endocrine system, we should just know that this is a system that is responsible for producing hormones. And what these hormones does is to ensure that our body is controlled, coordinated, and regulated. I also like us to note that hormones are generally divided into two. There are some hormones that have their response are very rapid response, and others they are slow acting. They don't act as fast as others, but their effects are longer lasting. So examples of hormones that have rapid response or that makes response so rapid is insulin and the adrenaline. They act really fast. Then there are some slow acting hormones like the growth hormones and the sex hormones. These ones are slow acting, but they stay in our blood, they stay in the target organ for a very long period of time. They are slow acting, but their effects are longer lasting. Let me say something lastly before I end this video. I'd like us to note that the endocrine system and the nervous system, they have something in common. And what is that thing they both have in common? Both the endocrine system and the nervous system are responsible for coordination. They coordinate what happens in our body. But the coordination of the nervous system and the nervous response are really very fast, because this response travels along the nerves as electrical signals. So they move really fast. This is the reason why you touch something hot, you want to blink, you want to do some certain things, and it happens so fast. Most times you don't even know that you're doing those actions. We call them reflex actions. But in the case of the endocrine system, because the hormones have to travel along the bloodstream or through the bloodstream, it makes the effect slower compared to the nervous system. But the effects that we get from hormones or hormonal coordination are longer lasting generally compared to the nervous system. So what have we said so far? We have said that the endocrine system is a system that is composed of glands. These glands are endocrine glands. They secrete hormones directly into the bloodstream. We have also defined hormones as chemical substances secreted by the endocrine gland. They go directly into the bloodstream. They travel through the bloodstream. They get to target organs. It's in the target organs that they produce an effect. The endocrine glands, we have looked at 6 major endocrine glands. We talked about the master gland called the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, adrenal gland, the pancreas, the ovaries, and the testes. Do not forget that the pituitary gland is called the master gland because it coordinates or controls how other endocrine glands function. It does this coordination by releasing hormones that triggers other endocrine glands to produce their own hormones so that effects can be seen. So it's important we take note of this. You're going to answer questions from here. If they don't ask you questions related to the pituitary gland, you'll be asked about the thyroid gland, hormones that it produce. So if you come to this video, pay attention, you listen over and over and over again, you take note of the basic points, you see that it's going to contribute to your overall performance. So until I see you again, keep watching, keep learning. Bye for now.